All right, so we are now on week 3 of our campaign, and we have just finished out flank, where I was able to get a victory, and so we're moving to contact, which, because I have a victory, I'm able to get reserves on turn 2. So let's take a look at contact. Basically, it's set up this way, and I'm on defense, and it's going to be scattered delayed, but it's not going to be quite as delayed. I'll get it start rolling on turn 2, whereas he starts rolling turn 1. He comes on anywhere on his edge, but I may come in on the corners. I'm not really sure. So I've got a strategy to try to help me out, because we use our own terrain chart, and we rolled for a farm town, which means that everything's pretty sort of cheap, especially buildings. Small buildings are going to be 1 point, and large buildings, churches, are going to be 3 points. So I'm definitely going to invest as many points as I can into buildings and place them where I need them to be placed. So I'm also going to invest in roads, try to get both roads, and then go for the buildings. So when we're looking at contact, what I plan on doing is putting the roads going across each side about where I could come in on the corners. Okay, so the reserves, it loads up. Okay, so where do the reserves arrive? 16 inches from the corner. So I'll be setting up the roads within 16 inches of the corners and go straight across. That way, if I'm at a place, let's say I roll a 1, 2, and I need to be on this side, I'll just get on the road and zip across as fast as possible, so I can get over there. So I'll place those roads in those positions as I can, and then I'll be placing buildings inside, but within 4 inches of the corners, and then as many scattered through here. So I'm going to have a line of buildings on both sides, because I don't know which side I'm going to be on. Actually, the defender picks a long table edge to defend, so I'll be working on one side of the table as much as possible, setting up a town where he could be placing the objectives. He'll be placing 2 objectives in this area. So I'll be setting up a road that'll go behind the buildings, and then the buildings that'll be within 4 inches of wherever, right here, I'll be placing buildings in there and go all the way across so that my troops can go back. Now, the troops that I'll be using, I decided to go with engineers. So I'm going to try out the engineers, see how they work out. I'm able to get 3 platoons, which means that I'll be able to set up a platoon on each corner of the objective area and then 1 in the center. And the reason why I picked engineers, even though they're not they're regular troops, they're going to be confident, trained, aggressive, but they'll be dug in, gone to ground. They'll have 3 bazookas, 2 HMGs, and I'll have 3 platoons of them. And then this SMG team is going to babysit an M10 tank destroyer platoon, because there's only going to be 2 of them. However, I did put desert veterans on them, which will allow them to do some peekaboo behind buildings. That's why I'm going to set up those buildings a little bit in the backfield, so that those I'll be able to move my reserve troop, where if whoever's out of position can go and back up another platoon somewhere, wherever the pressure is. And also the M10s will be able to scooch back and forth and be able to pop out from behind buildings, because they're going to have the desert veterans, and they've got the seek, strike, destroy doctrine, and they'll be able to knock out hopefully any tanks that come up that my engineers will have trouble with, like tigers or even panthers. Panthers I'm not too afraid of, because they're not great assaulting tanks, but anything that they're going to need help with, I'll be able to use the M10 tank destroyers. Then the main support will come with Thunderbolts. I've got Thunderbolts coming in. Grasshopper and 105s to bombard any artillery that tries. You just do counter battery, take out any support weapons that will be softening up my troops, and then my reserves are going. I put the bulk of it because I like to take. The way that the rules are is that they punish you for taking lots of platoons of reserves. You want to make it one big platoon. That's why I like Tigers in reserves. You roll once, you get it, and that all your reserves or most of your reserves come in. So I decided to go with the veteran 76. That should solidify any holes that I come that pop up or any trouble with big tanks. They're the first ones to come in, and they're going to have Lafayette Pool, which I get a follow me on a 3-up if I need it, and then I get to ignore the stabilizer rule for the commander of that platoon. So that is 32 points right there on that particular platoon. And then the other 12 points, or I'm sorry, that's 32. So the other 10 points would be a veteran Stewart platoon, in which case I put sandbag armor. And the reason why I did that is that they're not really good at blocking anything. So everything's going to penetrate them. But if I need them to assault infantry, let's say, they've got good machine guns, and the anti-tank weapons of Panzerschreck or Panzerfaust might bounce off the sandbag armor. So it gives me a chance to avoid any destroyed tanks, and they have a chance to survive. And you know, it's just something a little bit extra for them to hang on, because I don't expect them to go up against heavy tanks or heavy guns, but they're going to be coming up against infantry. Those are going to be my infantry tank guys, or anti-infantry tank. I put sandbag armor, see how that works out. Of course, I got the lucky card in there. I always forget to use it, but it's always good to have. It's a nice little blanket. And that's it. So that's what I'm going to bring. I'm not sure what Dan's going to bring. I'm guessing tanks, but I guessed tanks the last time, and he came with all infantry. But he was on defense. Now he's on the attack, and he's going to have to be fast because I'm getting reserves earlier than usual. So I expect there to be armored Panzer Grenadiers, tanks, Nebelwerfers. You know, something's going to have to give. He's going to have to move quickly, so he's going to probably use something that Panzer IV, Stugs, something that moves in and will start to punish me right away. So I think there's a good balanced force. I think I'll be ready for whatever he has going. The buildings, I think, will help me, especially with the tank destroyers. And engineers, I'm not too familiar with them, but I like their equipment. I like the fact that they've got the extra bazookas and HMGs. Those are a very diverse group of infantry, even though the regular Garand is a little lighter than I would like it. But there's really no waste. I think, like with the airborne, I hate that they've got the 60mm mortar, just one of them. You know, I wish we could get 3 platoons of these airborne and then do the old comp group where you can take those 60mm and make their own platoon. I think that would have been better. I wish we could still do something like that. So barring that, I'd rather not waste points and just have a good defensive force, and we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, and we'll see what happens on our next battle.